Hello, my name's Nick Perkins and I'm one of the DHF compliance and training team, and I'm here with a brief standards update for you. The first standard I want to talk about is BSEN 12604 plus A1 2020, a recent amendment to the 2017 standard, and it is now published and current. It's up on the BSI website. Members can buy a copy of this with a discount, and the standard affects manual vehicle gates and doors manufactured since publication, so it takes effect for 2021 onwards. There are no significant changes for gates and barriers. The changes are mostly affecting vertically acting doors. This is, though, the standard that powered gate companies should use when fabricating or ordering fabrication of gates for automation, because it calls up, or it is called up by the powered gate standard for things like structural integrity. So it's an important part of compliance and safety. But the main part of this video is going to be about the amendment to EN 12453, and coming up will be the A1 2021 amendment. Of course, this standard applies to powered vehicle doors, gates and barriers. The standard amendment is now approved by CEN, the European standards body, but not yet published in Europe or the UK. But when it does, it will have an effect on powered gate and barrier system compliance. It will affect manufacturers' responsibilities under the supply of machinery safety regulations here in the UK for UK CA marking, or the machinery directive in Europe for CE marking, and the issue of declaration of conformities. It could also affect a manufacturer's responsibilities under Section 6 of the UK Health and Safety at Work Act, or the Northern Ireland 1978 Health and Safety at Work Order when it is published in the UK, so it will have some effects. This amendment comes after 10 years of confusion in the powered gate industry. But once this standard has been published and has achieved its designated in the UK or harmonised in the European Union status, this industry will again have a standard that can be used to demonstrate conformity. This will end 10 years of a degree of confusion and uncertainty that in fact began in 2010 with the deaths of Carolina Golobec in Bridgend and Samelia Campbell in Manchester, and these were children who were killed in the same week in 2010 in two different ends of the country, but both with sliding gates. These incidents and a few others caused UK HSE to file a formal objection to EN 12453 with the European Commission, who duly issued a warning about reliance on the standard for compliance, and that warning remains to this day. And what it says is that you shouldn't rely on EN 12453 entirely for compliance. In other words, you need to follow the standard, but you need to take some additional steps as well. So normally, when a new machinery safety standard publishes, it would only affect powered gates and barriers manufactured post-publication. But in this case, it's not quite so clear-cut. EN 12453 2001 effectively had its harmonised status removed in 2015. And manufacturers were warned by the European Commission and the UK Health and Safety Executive to conduct additional risk assessments to compensate for this. EN 12453 2017, published in late 17, failed to achieve harmonised status. So the European Commission declined to restore harmonisation, and BSEN 12453 2017, the UK version published by BSI, was published in the UK with a foreword that warns users against relying on it for legal compliance with the supply of machinery safety regs or the machinery directive. When BSEN 12453 2017 plus A1 2021 does finally publish, and even more so when it has achieved designated status in the United Kingdom and harmonised status in the EU, it will then represent the legal minimum state-of-the-art for supply of machinery safety regulations compliance, for filling out of a declaration of conformity, and for UK CA or CE marking with immediate effect due to the 2015 warnings and withdrawal of harmonisation. What that really means is there would be no coexistence period, there will be no warming up period. Manufacturers will be expected to be straight on with this and in full compliance. In fact, they should already be due to the warnings issued in 15. Just a reminder, it's not really about the amendment, but a common topic that comes up, and that is about the scope of the standard. EN 12453, been published now for more than 20 years. It covers vehicle gates and barriers, and has never covered pedestrian gates, not ever, not since 2000, when it first published. The appropriate standard for powered pedestrian gates is in fact EN 16005, the auto door standard. There is a problem with this, however, and that is that the auto door standard does not necessarily cover the specific hazards associated with the gates. Mainly I think about the gap under a gate and varying ground conditions and things that affect that sort of hazard, and also the effects of open infill. And the auto door drives and sensors also do not necessarily work well in external environments, or not necessarily designed to move gate constructions, designed for doors primarily. So it sometimes leaves installers, designers, fabricators with a problem. That DHF advice on this subject, though, is that you do in fact have a choice, and that's that no manufacturer necessarily needs to use the harmonised standard that's applicable to the product that they are manufacturing or installing, but they must achieve a comparable or equal level of safety that the appropriate standard would have provided. So our advice is that you can use EN 12453 and gate automation equipment, as many people will want to. But if you do, we would say you should either use the non-contact presence detection elements of it, i.e. the use of laser scanners for swing gates, or indeed use much lower force than the ceiling allowed by EN 12453. And we offer somewhere around about 150 newtons as per EN 16005 in combination with dual supplementary beams. So there we are. For pedestrian gates, there is in fact a choice. You need to achieve good level of safety for pedestrian gates, and the level of safety needed is what's described by 16005, but you can achieve that by using EN 12453 technology and ethos. But you should be going for much lower force than the 400 newtons allowed by the vehicle gate standard. One change or clarification really that's come about in the amendment, and there are not many changes, I have to say, to affect the powered gate or barrier industry. 2017 version of this standard, when it published, was just a little bit unclear about what constituted riding on hazard. And it used the following wording. It said that if ledges are considered to allow persons or objects to travel on a gate if, and here it got a bit confusing really, the upper surface is less than 18 degrees to the horizontal plane, and the lower surface slopes upwards towards the gate at an angle greater than the upper surface, and the upper surface does not slope downwards from the adjacent vertical part of the gate. Well, I don't know about you, but I find that quite difficult to make sense of. So thankfully, the A1 2021 amendment wording is much clearer. And it says, apertures are considered to allow persons to travel with a gate if the test probe B, according to 6 EN 61032/1998, can penetrate into the aperture by more than 20 millimeters. Test probe B is a test finger, if you like. And actually, I've shown the dimensions on the screen here, and you can see that the actual finger is 12 millimeters thick. So for many people, it kind of emulates your little finger. Okay, it's not an accurate rendition, but it's that sort of size thing. And if your little finger can fit through a hole more than 20 millimeters deep, then that might be considered to be an aperture that would allow a person to travel with the gate. And ledges are considered to allow persons to travel with the gate if they are protruding horizontally from the gate more than 40 millimeters. And I think when we consider most gates, they probably fit into this, in that we have to acknowledge that people can travel with the gate. And all that means is that it doesn't mean to say we have to stop people from travelling with the gate, but it means if they can travel with the gate, they will have to be catered for. In other words, we have to think about what they will arrive at. If they were to be riding on a gate, would they be squashed against something else, or would they be drawn into the supports of a sliding gate, for instance? Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to prevent people travelling with a gate, but we have to think about their safety if they are. Okay, there's a clarification of something that was quite confusing in the 2017 version, and I think the A1 2021 proposed wording is much clearer. And the other significant change is that the 2017 version standard, and in fact the 2000 version, they were all have been very clear about force testing at the main edge of a gate, but less clear about how you verify other areas of horizontally moving gates. And by that we're thinking about the swept area crush and impact hazards for swing and folding gates, hinge area crush hazards, and draw-in hazards on sliding gates. And all these areas are described in the standard, and it prescribes that we can use force limitation to control them. But when it comes to verifying or testing, it doesn't really explain. It's not mentioned. So that was seen to be a problem. So the A1 2021 amendment now clarifies this situation with one single straightforward sentence. And it says the following clauses describe tests necessary at the closing edges. And of course, they are the tests we're all used to already. But where other hazards of gates are being protected by limitation of force, the values specified in Annex A, and that's your 400 newtons down to 150 and 0.75 per second, down to 25 newtons within 5 seconds, those values shall be verified at that hazard. And of course, they can be verified in many ways. But there's two main. One is by direct measurement at the hazard. But that's not always safe to do, or indeed practical to do. And if you have a copy of DHF TS11 2019, or indeed older ones, they will explain to you how to verify safety at these other areas, in fact what to do. So DHF guidance on the subject of safety and compliance. DHF first issued a code of practice document, that was DHF TS11 2016. So that's when we published our first full code of practice. We revised the format of it in 2018. It didn't change the content hugely, but the way it looked. And then in 19, we revised it to reflect EN 12453 2017. And we also took the opportunity to issue a smaller on-site guide. This was an A5 ring binder book. And it just contained the requirements for safety and left out the legislation elements from the code of practice. So a useful glove compartment book for on-site use. And then just recently, at the end of 2020, we have issued a legislation supplement to reflect the changes that have come about due to Brexit and explain UK CA marking. And in 2021, later this year, you can expect a revised on-site guide and legislation guidance to be published when EN 12453 2017 plus A1 2021 finally publishes. So when that has published, and we can absolutely confirm the final wording, we will issue revised guidance to industry. Okay, so that brings us to the close, really. Just to say thank you for taking time to listen. I hope it's been at least some way informative for you. Check out the DHF website for industry news and developments. You'll find there sections on news, on publications, training, CSCS cards and NVQs, amongst other subjects. You can email us for technical inquiries. It's technical@dhfonline.org.uk. And for training matters, you can email training@dhfonline.org.uk, or for matters of membership, there is the membership email address. Okay, well, thank you for taking time to listen, and look out for more information from the DHF as and when it comes.